Okay, here you see I've got a string, and the string has a knot in it right here. Okay, so you can see the knot. Now at the end of this string I've got a weight, and I can hold the string here by the knot and let the weight swing back and forth to make a pendulum. Now the weight happens to be a pipe wrench, and that doesn't make a very good pendulum. So we want to make a good pendulum that we can measure accurately. So here I have our two magnets, okay, the two small magnets. And here you can't see it, but I've got a piece of thread off of the spool of thread that's in your lab package. And of course, you can use any thread you like. So I'm going to lay down a kind of a little loop of thread toward the end on top of one magnet and hold it down, and then let the other magnet grab onto the thread. So now I've got a simple pendulum. Okay, I can swing that pendulum and count it. I've tied a knot in the thread right here. So I know exactly where the knot is. If I lay the thread across this little piece of track here, and maybe easier to do it along the back of the track, that should still work. Okay, and I get the knot right at the edge of the track and hold it tightly so the knot stays where it is, then the pendulum can oscillate. Now that's kind of a fast oscillation. We're going to want to time these oscillations. So I've got it here, and now it's oscillating. Okay, but the problem is, in response to the oscillation, my hand isn't perfectly rigid. Now, nothing really in the universe is, but we want to use something a little more rigid than the back of my hand to support the pendulum. So I'm going to take this, put it over the end of this makeshift tabletop I have here, line up the knot with the edge of the track, ramp, whatever you want to call it, and let it oscillate. And now it's held pretty rigid, and I have a hand free. I have the hand free, and I can use that hand to operate the mouse or trackpad or whatever we have on a lap timer on my computer. And the lap timer will tell me how frequently I click. So if I click every time the pendulum completes an oscillation, I've got to be careful to hold this thing at the right point, and the thread's not always as cooperative as it might hope, but okay, there we go. Okay, so here it is. So now I click, 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 click. And if you want to show off, you could go click, 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 click. Yeah, it might be a little hard to coordinate that with a short pendulum. Of course, you can make the pendulum much longer. Okay, I've got plenty of string, plenty of thread here to make a pendulum as long as I really need. Okay, so there's the pendulum. That's how we time it. Now another way of timing it is to count the oscillations for, let's say, a minute while you watch a second hand. And I might have you do that for 2 or 3 different lengths. So maybe I have a knot here, so the pendulum is this long, maybe I have a knot here, so the pendulum is this long, and maybe I have a knot here, so now the pendulum is this long, and of course that affects the frequency with which the pendulum oscillates. Now to record my lengths, I have my paper ready over here, but I didn't. To record my lengths, I could write them down on a piece of paper, but you know, what if I do something wrong with my measurements? It's better if I lay the apparatus out here. I don't have anything to write with. Little shortcoming. Pretend these scissors are a pen, and I can make a mark. I don't want to get the scissors too close to the magnets because they're magnetic, but I make a mark. Got it? Okay, I make a mark right at the end of the magnet. Okay, use a non-magnetic pencil, most are, or pen, and then at one knot, and then at another knot, and at a third knot. And if the third knot is too long, then maybe what our third knot is so far from the edge here that it's off the paper. I can put another piece of paper down and mark it, and then put some kind of a marking on the paper to indicate that here's where the first paper ends, there's where the second paper begins. Or if the distance between my second and third knots isn't too great, then I can just, you know, move this off. So here's the second knot, here's the third knot, and I can write down on the paper what these markings mean so that I can, and then maybe draw a little picture of the apparatus so that I can always go back and measure them if I want to. And I've got a permanent record of how long the pendulum was. Okay, well, your basic assignment's going to be, I think, 3 lengths of the pendulum, and I'll specify a little bit more about what those lengths might be.